Hello everybody, my name is Matt Muhammad, and how did a movie that looked like this cause so much controversy? What does this movie have that sparks so much... Oh... You guys really need better reasons to criticize a movie. For those who don't know, Training Red is a 2022 animated movie created by Pixar. For some reason, this movie stirred up a bit of controversy due to a bunch of reasons. Some were smaller reasons, like people saying that the art style looked bad, and others thought that the movie was cringy just by watching the trailers. And then you have the bigger reasons, like Pixar taking down a review from an early screening of the movie because the reviewer called it racist. And even besides these criticisms, Pixar themselves is getting really angry at Disney for putting the movie on Disney Plus instead of in the theaters. So yeah, this movie had a rocky lead up to its release, but now it finally came out, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents in because if I don't, then this episode will only be 1 minute long. Wait, I feel like I should do something better. Anyway. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Maylin Lee, which I'll be calling May from now on, is a 13-year-old girl who has a really overprotective mom, who expects her to get good grades, be perfect, and whatever the stereotype for Asian mom who is really strict on their child is. One day she gets the powers of being able to turn into a red panda whenever she feels a really strong feeling or emotion. Apparently this has been passed down from generation to generation in her family due to her religion. However, there is a way to undo it, but they need to wait for a blood moon in order to do it. However, because she's 13, she really wants to go to this concert to see this boy band. So with the help of some of her friends, she decides to start using her panda powers as a way to make money in order to go to the concert, since her mom disapproves of boy bands and really anything that May likes. In order to make an extra $200, she decides to come to this birthday party of this bully, who's really just this dweeb who can hurt people's feelings. However, her mom finds out and realizes that May has been lying to her, which has never happened before. Too bad she came in the moment May started assaulting the bully and almost killed him. So the mom of course blames May's friends, because May would never do such a thing. She's perfect. She isn't, but whatever. And anyway, during the ritual, which happened on the same day in the concert, May goes through with it, but she decides to stay as a red panda, and decides to go to the concert anyway because she's a big independent woman who can do whatever she wants. And because May's mom is very mentally stable, she decides to act calm about the situation and try and talk, and just kidding! Instead, she becomes a giant red panda and do the thing that contained it breaking, and then she goes to destroy the concert and most likely kill her own daughter. I did mention spoilers, right? Ending up using the power of the panda, May knocks out her mom, and the relatives, which I totally forgot to mention, also decide to become a panda so they can grab her mom and put her through the ritual again, so they can all remove the panda from them. Except for May, who wants to stay and keep the panda power. The mom learns not to be a stereotypical Asian parent, and May learns that being a panda is cool. And she also decides to use her panda as a way to sell merchandise at the Chinese temple that her parents work at, because consumerism overshadows religion. And that was Turning Red. Now, a lot of people criticize this movie's animation for looking like the infamous bean mouth / head style that some cartoons have been using recently. And then you have the people who think that all Pixar movies should look realistic, so obviously a cartoon looking like a cartoon can't be. But this animation is generally amazing. Everyone who criticizes it is wrong. Oh man, that sounds really weird. Anyway, ever since Luca, people have been criticizing Pixar's animation for being more stylized, and I feel like this is mostly due to how Pixar spent the last decade pushing realism in their animation. So to have a movie that looks like this might look like a downgrade, but I feel like people should stop comparing this movie to other Pixar movies. Yes, this company made Ratatouille, but this movie isn't trying to be Ratatouille, it's trying to be its own thing. That's like expecting DreamWorks to always make movies that are like Shrek because they made Shrek. Or for a better example, expect Disney to only make princess movies because they made a few Disney princess movies. This is just a dumb standard to hold against a company, which makes it really hard when a company tries to make something new. I also find it weird how everyone predicts a movie will suck only for it to be good, even though people should learn not to doubt Pixar. Everyone thought Onward would suck, it was pretty good. Everyone thought Luca would suck, it was pretty good. Everyone thought this movie would suck, it's pretty good. Oh man, I got way off track. This is supposed to be the animation, I'm supposed to be talking about the animation, not a rant, whoops. Now, the animation is really good. I love the stylized animation, and this movie is very cartoony. Their eyes are really expressive, like how they get excited, they'll glow up with sparkles in their eyes, or how there's one scene where the characters realize they can make money and they get dollar signs in their eyes. It's so cartoony, I just love it. Strangely enough, the food in this movie is the thing that looks the best. The food is just like really good, it's really realistic, it's really delicious how it looks, if that makes any sense. And just watching the dad make the food just looks so good. I guess this does make sense though, because the director of this movie made the Pixar short film Bao, which was about food, so it makes sense that the food would look this good. The movie also had some great shots like this one, where it was like rendered in a way where where the character looks really shiny like a toy. It's just like, there's just like some of these scenes that are just rendered in certain ways, and it reminds me, yeah, Pixar makes great movies. And yeah, that's all I really got. Animation is great, Pixar is great, never doubt Pixar. First things first, the animation is great, like I said. I also like some of the jokes. I haven't actually laughed generally at a movie in a while, so this is a good change of pace. I also like how this movie is set in the 2000s. It helps the movie from being not outdated, if that makes any sense. And it is strange seeing a flip phone makes the movie less outdated than seeing a modern phone, but whatever. However, this did make me realize that OMG has existed for a long time and will probably outlive us all. I also like how the bully wasn't this big threatening menace to society or usually like, give me your lunch money kid type bullies, but instead we got this dweeb that likes to bully a nerd and is just a jerk. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone has met this type of person before in their life, which makes it more relatable. I also like the mom's character. For how much I made fun of her during the plot, she is the one who got me to laugh the most. One running gag that I liked was how she would just spy on May at school, and then a security guard would just come and try to kick her out. I also like how the dad wasn't completely useless or dumb in these movies. He just couldn't really talk about what was going on since it never happened to him, and that makes sense. And when he does try to talk, he tries to like put his own little thing to it, which I think makes sense. I also like the ending. It didn't do that dumb cliche where the family decides to just all become pandas because, oh, May is a panda, so yeah, guess we're pandas now. No, they still decided to seal it, and I feel like it makes sense. They didn't need to show the audience how the characters have grown or changed by just having them like get rid of like their thing and becoming pandas. No, they also decided to seal it, like I said. I'm getting off track. I also feel like the cringe in this movie wasn't that bad. Yeah, cringe is cringe, and I do feel like cringe in most forms is bad, but here it felt a bit more natural. This wasn't the result of executives trying to appeal to the modern generation and such. They put jokes that felt forced or awkward. No, this is just how 13-year-olds talk and act. Go to a 13-year-old right now and have a conversation with them. Chances are they will sound cringy or embarrassing, and that's okay. Kids can be embarrassing at times, and that's okay. This makes sense. The characters, how they talk is realistic. They don't even sound like adults talking. They sound like general kids. I also really like the music. Some sound cues sounded kind of weird to me, and I've never heard these types of things before, and I think that's why I like it. I also think this movie uses the PG rating properly. Recently, PG ratings in movies is just borderline rated G at that point. I feel like most kids' movies could be rated G if it didn't have so much toilet humor. Other times there are movies that I can't figure out why they're rated PG instead of G, like Inside Out. But this movie uses it so well. PG is supposed to be able to get away with more things than a G-rated film, but not too much where it crosses into PG-13. And this movie uses PG well. I forgot that certain like curse words can be used in a kid's movie, and it makes sense that kids would use something like that. Like they would curse every now and then. It makes them feel more human. I also like how the message is how parents should have a good relationship with their child, but they shouldn't try to micromanage everything in their child's life and expect them to be perfect or else it ruins the relationship. And finally, before I end and go to the cons, let me show you the best joke in this entire movie. This is so overly cartoony, like Chuck Jones, maybe like Tex Avery style. I love it. Now this movie isn't perfect. The cringy parts can be uncomfortable at times even if I can understand them, or why they're there. I also feel like the parts about puberty did feel a bit forced. In interviews, Pixar said they would be unapologetic about these sorts of things, but they didn't really tackle it much in these movies. Like, they didn't even use some of their names for like certain things and instead use metaphors. I mean, personally, you can keep puberty out of my movies, but I can see if someone might have felt like they got ripped off when Pixar was like hyping up like, guys, we're totally doing it, we're gonna be unapologetic, we're gonna be explaining everything. I also found the idea of the bully becoming their friends a bit too rushed. Like, we never saw a moment in the movie where we could see like them being good friends. All we see is them finding out that he is a fan of the boy band, and then the next moment they're just friends. I don't know, I feel like it could have used some work. Like maybe, like I feel like it could have worked, but they just need like more scenes of them like actually bonding. Because in all the other scenes, they're just bullying, like they're just angry at each other. So I don't know. I also do like, I do find some of the scenes a bit cliche, like the breakup scene right before the climax, only for them to apologize and everything's forgiven. Or the mom find out what May is doing right before the big breakup scene. I don't know, like, if that makes any sense. I do also find the beginning and ending scenes of May talking to the audience to feel like a cheap way to force exposition. Yeah, most movies start like that, but it's not like May was talking to the audience the entire movie. It's just the beginning and the ending, so it feels kind of out of place. And that's kind of all I have so far. I don't really understand why a lot of people didn't like this movie. There isn't as many cons to be... Oh no. Oh god, oh no. I get it. I get it now! Oh god! Yeah, this is unnecessary. These scenes are uncomfortable, embarrassing, and cringy, and not in the good way. I am so glad that this only appears for like a few seconds and not tons of times in the movie. You can't even say this is how kids act, 'cause let me tell you, if I see a bunch of kids twerking in public, I will not hesitate to hit them with a stick. And you don't believe me? Come over here. Come here, why are you running? Come here! Come here! Overall, I think Turning Red is a good movie. I do understand if it's not for everyone, though. I have heard a few people call it bad or mediocre, and that's okay. But I encourage someone who's not seen it before to go and watch it, then make your opinion based on what you've seen, and not just entirely based on what someone said about it. I heard a few people call it bad before I watched the movie, so then I watched it, and then I liked it, so I think it's about preference. If you like it, good for you. If you didn't like it, good for you as well. I just hope that you make your opinion based on the actual movie, and not because the animation looks too cartoony, or because the trailer painted it in a bad way. So, was all this controversy necessary? Not really, but if that one reviewer who said the movie is racist saw a different Turning Red, then I kinda wanna see it, to be honest. For research purposes, I swear!